Late last night, the San Francisco 49ers made a trade. We talked about that here on the 49ers Report. And on this Monday, we wake up to the news that Niners owner Jed York was arrested over the weekend in Ohio. Never a dull day covering the Niners. And before training camp, head coach Kyle Shanahan was in a car accident. 49ers Report, presented by Prize Picks. The show starts right now. Let's get to it. All right, welcome into the show, everybody. My name is Chase Senior. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. And anytime there's breaking Niners news like there was last night, like there is this morning, I'm talking about it. We've got a great platform and a great audience and a great foundation of people who watch this show. So hop on board, hit that subscribe button right now as we approach 200,000 subscribers. The breaking news on this Monday morning, a lot of you waking up very early on the West Coast to see this, a little bit later in the morning on the East Coast. Niners owner Jed York arrested. WKBN, a local news station in Ohio, with this report that York was arrested on Sunday. He pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct. He was ordered to spend 2 days in jail. He was given a credit for that second day. So it looks as though Jed York spent 1 day in jail and he posted $5,000 in bond. Here is the story from WKBN. We'll react to it. This includes what happened, the charges, and everything that we know so far. San Francisco 49ers owner Jed York was arrested in the Valley over the weekend and found guilty of 2 misdemeanor charges. York pleaded no contest Monday morning to misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and possessing criminal tools. He was arrested Sunday in East Palestine and posted $5,000 bond. Court records show York was sentenced to 2 days in the Columbiana County Jail to be served concurrently with credit for a day served. He was also ordered to pay $1,150 in fines. Court orders show a cell phone was ordered returned to York and $160 seized shall be forfeited to the Mahoning Valley Human Trafficking Task Force as part of the agreement. York is a Cardinal Mooney grad, so he's from that area. He became team president back in 2008 of the Niners. WKBN has reached out to York's attorney and the team for comment, but is yet to hear back. There is a key element to this story reported on by WKBN. Make of it what you will. And some local news stations in the Bay Area, obviously, catching wind of this story, are starting to catch on to this element as well. Let's read this again. Court orders show a cell phone was ordered, returned to York, and $160 seized shall be forfeited to the Mahoning Valley Human Trafficking Task Force as part of the agreement. This is not a good look for a billionaire to put himself in this position. Of course, the Niners are in the midst of training camp and the preseason. And I know that Jed York has a lot of different business interests. He's a very busy guy. His money is in multiple different areas. But I know that last week, when the Philadelphia Eagles had a joint practice against New England Patriots in Foxborough, Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie was in attendance. Remember back during NFL free agency, Jed York was overseas checking on his soccer team. He came back and didn't even know that the 49ers had signed wide receiver Christian Kirk. Let me also add, Jed York is married. He has 2 sons, and some local news stations in the Bay Area obviously are looking at the human trafficking element of this and potential prostitution element of this story, which also is not a good look. And I know that Patriots owner Robert Kraft, for instance, had that incident at a massage parlor in Florida. That same day, he flew to Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. People who have a lot of money sometimes find themselves in these situations. I personally don't understand why. I think I make a decent amount of money here at Chat Sports. I'm very blessed. Thank you to the bosses for doing that, but I wouldn't put myself in this type of situation. So why is Jed York out and about in Ohio during preseason, during training camp, and why is he getting himself involved in this? He was also arrested on Sunday. That was yesterday. So does that mean that it was the wee hours of Saturday night into Sunday? So some egg on the face of Niners owner Jed York, and there's never a dull day covering the Niners. You know, before training camp, There was the controversial crash that head coach Kyle Shanahan was in. You have the substation theories lingering because the Niners have continued to be very injured all throughout training camp. Then you have Jed York being arrested in Ohio, and he has to fork over some cash to the human trafficking department locally to that department in Ohio. As far as some more Niners news here to get you recapped on what happened yesterday, over the weekend, into today. Talked about this last night here on the show, but not everybody watches every single video, even though you probably should. George Kittle yesterday was taken off the PUP list by San Francisco. That stands for physically unable to perform list. He practiced yesterday. He was in pads. He was looking fast, physical, twitchy, very healthy. When the Niners were in Los Angeles playing the Chargers on Thursday for their second preseason game, Kittle visited with the surgeon who performed on his Achilles after he popped his Achilles tendon against the Eagles in the wild card round. Dr. Neil Elitrash, one of the best sports doctors in the industry. That meeting went very well. Kittle was said then to be ahead of recovery. That's been what everybody has been saying, including Kittle, over the last couple of months and weeks, with Niners training camp, of course, underway about a month ago. And what this is signifying, if Kittle started the year on PUP, he would have to miss at least 4 games. So number one, the Niners think that he can come back at some point in the first 4 weeks of the year. This also does not rule out that Kittle could play week 1 against the Los Angeles Rams in Melbourne, Australia. He had said last week he doesn't want the first time that he puts on pads after the Achilles injury to be in a game against the Rams. Well, the regular season opener is on September 10th. So he's got a good amount of time before that game takes place to get prepped, to get the body calloused, and we'll see if he can play week 1 against Los Angeles in Melbourne, Australia. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey yesterday returned to practice. That's obviously a good sign, and the vibes were very high during Niners practice yesterday as San Francisco had a really good practice. And for Christian McCaffrey, entering year 10, he's 30 years old, had more than 400 touches last year. He takes care of his body like no one else across the NFL. Mind, body, spirit. He's all about that. And he said this was all part of the process. To ramp up, get the body beat up a little bit, and get some physicality in. Of course, work on stamina, work on some of the nuances of just being a running back, playing football, being involved with his new teammates for 9 to 10 practices, right? Then he said the plan was to ramp it back down so that he could let the body recover a little bit to stay fresh. He said yesterday he feels very fresh, then to ramp it back up in the lead up to the season. He was out for a couple of weeks due to stiffness. Last night, the Niners traded for linebacker Deion Jones. They traded running back Zamir White to the New Orleans Saints. This was a very odd and random trade. Deion Jones has been with the Saints for less than a month. Zamir White has been with the Niners for less than a month. Zamir White was not going to make this team. I don't know if Deion Jones makes this team because San Francisco is very deep at the linebacker spot. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw will be your starters. Nick Martin does have a hamstring injury. This could signify that he could be out for a little while. He had been having a pretty good preseason. The talent is certainly there. The game just needs to slow down a little bit, and he needs to do a better job of throttling down. But he has double-digit tackles the first 2 preseason games and knocked that ball out on special teams. That's how you impress your coaching staff, your teammates, and make the club. So you've got Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Martin, Jaden Duggar is coming on, and he could be a star. You have Tatum Bethune, Garrett Wallow. You have other players like Jalen Graham, who's been out for a little while. Other really good linebackers on this team who give this team really good depth. Luke Gifford is hurt right now, but he's a special teams ace. And so Deion Jones has played under Raheem Morris, he's played under Kyle Shanahan, but he hasn't been a starter in multiple years. To start his career there for 5 or 6 years, he was one of the more athletic and at one point better linebackers in the NFL. He's no longer that. But can he help a Nick Martin, a Jaden Duggar, some of the young linebackers on this team learn this Raheem Morris defense? More Niners injury news here that I just want to touch on before we dip on out of here on this Monday morning. Jordan James returned to practice over the weekend. He saw Kalon Black tear it up on Thursday night. And Kalon Black, I think, is RB2. And Jordan James said, I got to get back and play in this final preseason game. He didn't play in the preseason last year due to, I believe it was a wrist injury, a thumb injury. Dejon Stribling, day-to-day shoulder injury. He had one of the non-contact jerseys on yesterday. That's not believed to be a long-term ailment. Mike Evans continues to get banged up. He was back at practice yesterday. Then he left, took his helmet off, very frustrated. He's an older player. In the last couple of years, he has been a little bit nicked up. The emergence of Dejon Stribling obviously helps, but the Niners are also missing Ricky Pearsall for the rest of the year. And then Diamador Lenore has a short-term shoulder injury. Elsewhere, Renardo Green, starting corner, hamstring. Austin Pleasance, backup offensive lineman, injured his knee against the Chargers. And then Nick Martin with that hamstring injury. Maybe the trade of Deion Jones means that Nick Martin could be out for a little while. Maybe he gets placed on PUP to start the year, wouldn't count toward the 53-man roster. And then Deion Jones could take his spot, we'll see, and maybe contribute on special teams. The 49ers report, by the way, is presented by Prize Picks. Use our code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup. If you win, you get $150 in lineups. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports picks app. You pick more, you pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You can win some big-time money. Prize Picks is the #1 place to win cash while watching sports, and it's available all across the country. So be sure to download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code HMA, and if you're victorious with that $5 lineup, you get $150 in lineups if you win. A future lineup that we've talked about: Brock Purdy more on the rushing touchdowns, Christian McCaffrey more on the rushing yards, Sam Darnold graded a top 5 quarterback by other NFL players in the NFL Top 100, more than 22.5 passing touchdowns. Shout out to Prize Picks for making today's show possible. That link is down in the description of today's show. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because anytime there's breaking Niners news or a big Niners update, talking about it here on the program.